Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. How's everybody doing? It's Wednesday. I hope you're doing well. Today I have returning guest, Physic Trance Channel, Reverend Gregory Possman as my guest, and he's going to join me in just a few minutes. I've had Gregory on, I don't even know how many times, numerous times now. So they're all in the archives if you ever want to listen, because he's going to be doing live channeling if you're here for the first time. If you're not familiar with Gregory, who I can hear right now playing with his microphone in the background. But yeah, so if you are new to my channel, I want to say welcome. So starting in November, I'm still going to be on radio, but I'm moving my show to Om Times TV. It's going to be twice a month, the first and third Wednesdays of the month, same time. And you can still listen on the radio, but you can also stream us or watch us stream live on Om Times TV on their YouTube channel. And Chris has informed me that, yes, it will stream to my YouTube channel also, which is Postcards to the Universe. Everything I do is under Postcards to the Universe. So you'll be able to watch us on video. And I'm excited about moving forward and getting on video. And I will have Gregory, of course, come on. We'll set up a date in the future and you'll get to see him and you'll watch him do his channeling, which is really, really cool. At the moment, I have been doing these short videos consistently, daily, and they're on YouTube. So I would appreciate it if everybody would go over there who's interested in my show and subscribe, because I'm reading oracle cards every day. I'm doing 5 to 10 minute videos of me talking about inspirational things. And I'm in process of learning tarot. So yesterday is the first time I did a tarot spread. I asked what did the spirits want us to know, and I'm going to be posting that video up today right after we're done here with the show. So I've been going through the tarot cards and doing my own oracle cards, and I'm really, really wanting to build up my YouTube channel, because now with Om Times I'm going to be streaming over there too. So if you listen and you like my show, please go over there and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. All right, so let me get to Gregory. And for those of you who don't know him, Reverend Gregory Possman, he is a psychic trance channel, and he channels over 40 light beings, including Sananda, Archangels, Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, as well as master teacher, spirit, Quan Yin. I love Quan Yin. Quan Yin likes to come on my show a lot, but that's not who's coming today from what I understand. Mary, 5 members of the Council of Shambhala, and others. And he also channels the Pleiadians, the Siriuns, and the Venusians. And he's going to be live channeling the Sirian leader, Kronos, and answering questions about the current energies of our planet and the U.S. And he performs workshops throughout the world, and he offers recorded channeled private sessions by phone. He's amazing. So if you really want to have a channeling done, I highly recommend reaching out to him. And he gives us a free channeled message monthly. Whoever likes to come through, whatever they want to let us know. And you can find that on his website, which is gregorypossman.com, and that's Gregory, Gregory, Possman, Possman.com. And check them out, because they're always so insightful. Hi, Gregory. Thanks for being here with me again.
Hello.
So exciting to talk to you and channeling, and everybody's always gets really excited when you're on the show, like all my regular listeners. Where's Gregory coming on again? So it's going to be fun when we set up one of the days and they can see you and see how you channeling and everything. It's really cool. I always ask Gregory, like, what do you think? Who wants to come through? And with everything going on, I kind of said, who could come through? Because I really want to talk about the energies of the planet right now, because they're super intense, as we all know. And, especially what's happening here in the US, with so much discord. And he said, the Syrian leader Kronos said, yep, it's going to be me. I'm going to come. So I said, cool. That's great. Right? That's how it kind of works
Absolutely.
for you.
That is
Yeah,
exactly how it works. Yes.
I know. It's wild. Because I've met now from doing the shows, Gregory, over the years, and a lot of different people channel, and everybody does it in such a different way. But I think you're the only one who removes yourself and the channel comes through that I've met so far. I'm sure other people do it, but it does that I've met personally.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Anyway, yeah, this is the way I've always done it. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know any other way to do it other than automatic writing that I can do.
Yeah.
But I do get more and more messages when I'm conscious than I used to. And so it's interesting how it's developed.
Yeah. It like some of the others the messages will come through, but they're sort of interpreting the message for us. Like you were like, Gregory's not there. Like you're there, but you're not there, Like I'm not talking to you anymore, kind of thing. So, but I have seen some other channelers who I think there's this woman, I wish I could remember her name. She channels Archangel Raphael a lot, and she speaks like Raphael speaks through her, but I've never met her in person. I've only seen her work. It's very
Mhm.
interesting how this works. So before we get into talking to Kronos, did you do your event this summer? Did you go and do your event in Norway, or don't you go to Norway or something?
Denmark.
Or
Yeah, Denmark. And that
Denmark.
was, yeah, we were there for 2 weeks and that was great. And I go once a year now. I used to go more often. Now it's once a year. And we had a really great, powerful experience. That was fantastic trip. Notwithstanding the airlines who had all kinds of issues, but that's the way of the
Mm,
world at this point.
yep,
So we
I
stay as
know.
positive about all that as we can. And but with the exception of that, everything. So yes, we did.
Well, when you go there, you're specifically channeling the Pleiadians, the Siriuns, the Venusians, the alien life forms, right? Like that's what that's for.
No,
That event. No,
it's
it's
no, it's still a
everybody. Okay.
combination of different beings. There were I think Michael and Sananda and a number of others came through, but there is a fair amount of extraterrestrials coming through. So that particular group of people tends to draw those beings, and so
Mm,
yeah, that did happen. But there were a number of others that came through as well. So
cool. God, that must be that's such a fun experience. Oh my God. Are you the only
well,
channeler?
yeah, I'm the only one that channels in those programs, and I still do the webinars, which are I'm
Hmm.
doing those about every 2 months. I'm trying to do them
Okay.
every 2 months, and the next one's going to be on the 15th of November. And
Okay.
it's interesting because in the next webinar, they are talking about how stressed and how worn out many human beings are on the
Hmm.
planet. So that
Yeah.
particular webinar is all about rejuvenation and recharging us. And
Mm.
I thought that was kind of interesting. I write automatic write what they're going to deal with in the next session, and that's what this one's coming up is about. So there is an incredible amount of stress on the planet. There's an awful lot of division in the United States, and
Hmm.
that's of course a lot of the political things that are going on. And
Hmm.
so I think today will be very interesting. I don't want to
Yeah.
delay the process, but that's what's been going
Yeah.
on for
Yeah, yeah, that's why I wanted to have this conversation. But before we do you Have you heard anything or gotten any messages about Three Eye Atlas and what it is, or should I wait and ask Kronos?
I have no idea. I've not even heard of
Okay.
that.
The Three Eye
You know
Atlas
that I
said
live in
is
a cave here in North Carolina, so
well, this Three Eye Atlas is they don't know what it is. It's not a comet because it doesn't have a tail, and it's coming close to Earth. I think the closest that'll be here is or in December. And I've been watching other people who are tuned in and tapped in, and they think it has a higher intelligence, that it may be billions of years old. It may be from some alien form to help us raise our consciousness. Yeah. So I
welcome
didn't
to
know
ask
if you
them
had
about it.
heard,
I'm
if
not
you had
familiar.
heard anything in your little circles like about it. So I was just curious. Okay. All right. Well, whenever you're ready,
Okay.
you do your thing.
Here we go.
Okay. Here we go.
We are the one called Kronos. We are the spiritual commander of the Sirian race, and we wish to clarify that the word commander has nothing to do with what you consider to be military, for oftentimes that word is associated in your language with military, but we have no need for what you call military. And so we are simply the spiritual leader of the Syrian race. And we wanted to point that out before we started answering your questions.
Mm. Well, thank you, Kronos, for stepping forward today. I appreciate it. Because as you are aware, we are, as a human race, going through some very challenging times right now. And I wanted your opinion and from your perspective, from the Syrian perspective, what is going on with these primary energetic shifts that are currently happening on the earth, and how does it relate to humanity's collective consciousness? We can start there.
In the process of evolution, one of the most powerful aspects is faith. And what we have seen in a great number of different societies and worlds and realms and universes are the aspects of the test that is given to these varying worlds in terms of their faith. And your planet is undergoing that kind of testing at the moment. And to make it more easily understood, there are two realities. There are the realities that you sense with all of your sensory perception, which of course is your sight and sound, hearing, smell, touch, all of those kinds of things. And that is the world that your mind processes. There is another world. The other world is entirely different. And the other world is the world that is in process at the moment. And that world is probably the opposite of what you are experiencing. So, whereas you experience division in terms of your populations in many countries, and division in terms of your governments and leaders, the opposite of that would be unity. The opposite of that would be what you call the lack of conflict, lack of division, or the unification process. And so, in what we call evolution, the process of progress or the process of moving forward, there is this aspect of faith that must be established. And that is what is happening. So, amongst your population, you have those who have tremendous faith. And we're not talking about religion. There are many who are religious who have tremendous faith. They believe in differing sources of that faith. Some believe in Creator, some believe in God, some believe in Allah, In other words, the religions that show differing belief systems all have some sort of source, and that is common amongst them. But this differing aspect of realities is something that you are experiencing yourself. You just talked about examining the cards, so to speak. Those are amplifiers. And those amongst you who do that kind of work use those amplifiers to bring forth your intuition. So,
Mm.
this process of using cards or crystals or tea leaves or whatever it might be, astrology, astronomy, numerology, all of those are amplifiers and they amplify your intuition. And so, if one goes deeply into one's intuition, they will be able to determine or tap into that reality that we are talking about. And it is not what one sees, it is not what one hears, it is what one feels, depending, of course, upon the gifts of any given individual. There are those who see, there are those who hear, and there are those who feel. They're all differing kinds of amplification of that source that you sometimes call psychic energy in the human perspective. And so have this aspect of two realities, and the purpose of those two realities is, as we said, create faith. Faith that one creates then allows one to create from that source, that faith. And that is how the higher intelligence amongst all of the universes, the galaxies, and the cosmos, that is how they function. Developing that ability is something that is challenging in the density of the planet Earth. But the truth of the matter is, it is possible and it is happening.
Thank you. So, just to follow up regarding the global conflict and the political division, what you see or the Sirians see as in the underlining root cause? Is it the lack of faith, and if is it more than that? And what guidance can they offer for for fostering a true planetary unity?
It is not a lack of faith, though in the human experience and the experience that we understand from human beings, it feels that way. But it is not a lack of faith because you are born with a tremendous amount of faith. And then you go through the societal education, so to speak, whatever that might be. And that faith is put on the back burner, so to speak. It is suppressed. Over a period of time, you begin to experience your spiritual gifts at 18, 22, 34, 35, whatever age it might be. Once you become convinced that those gifts are real, this faith that you were born with is reinstituted into your being, and you begin to create from it. So, as consciousness on your planet expands, in other words, as more and more of that faith begins to become aware, obvious, or evident, is probably the right word, evident, then as that process takes place, the consciousness of the entire planet begins to shift. Before that happens, however, there is usually a kind of darkness before the dawn. Other entities have spoken to you about this. So, oftentimes in a person's life, there are a great number of challenges that arise, a great number of difficult events that take place. And from those difficult events, they create a different path of awareness. They begin to become more grateful. They begin to become more aware that there is so much more than what one can see or feel or taste. And as that process takes place on a global level, begin to see an entirely different reality begin. In the meantime, those sources who do not want that particular process to occur, they
Mm-hmm.
create a tremendous amount of fear. And so they speak of world wars, they speak of this and that and the other. And then they convince those whom they govern that they have the solution. And as long as everyone is disciplined and does as they ask, then of course everything will be okay. Laughingly, in the man's mind, he calls it the boogeyman,
Mm-hmm.
which we find rather amusing. However, it is, of course, this particular fear that generates so much of the discipline that they desire to control others with. Now, that faith that we have spoken of stands on its own, and human beings do not need to call or surrender to that fear, because fear, of course, as you've heard many times, is false evidence or false events appearing real. They're
Mm-hmm.
all false. Nothing is going to take place. You've already asked a question about a particular aspect, which probably will be turned in a different direction as if it were something dangerous. So perhaps you would like to offer your question about that.
Well, yes, actually, I would. Thank you. Um, so, does the Syrian collective see the human collective having our dark night of the soul, so to speak, because we are going to be having a spiritual awakening on our planet?
Yes, you are in that process now. That is exactly what is happening. Spiritual awakening is taking place, and it is taking place in a rather quiet form. Other reality we have discussed is taking place in a much more visible and much more, how would you say it, palpable way. So you
Mm-hmm.
have this conflict that is consistently going on, not only between members of the same country, but varying countries fighting with one another. And by the way, just for the sake of observation, there is less conflict taking place on your planet at the moment than historically is normal. Usually there are at
Hmm.
least 92 or 93 conflicts taking place on your planet at one time. At the moment, we believe there are approximately 6. That's much less than is normal. So you see, in this
Wow.
other reality that we are talking about, which is much easier for us to view from a distance than it is for you to view because you're in the middle of it, you're living it. On the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, we as observers are watching it. And so what we are seeing is progress. What you perceive as danger, what you perceive as
Mm-hmm.
conflict and controversy, to us is actually progress. And that sounds very strange and is very difficult to believe, but in fact, it is what is happening. The amount of compassion, the amount of love, and the amount of concern that humanity is actually expressing at this point in time is quite high. And that is
Mm.
hard to believe because your political leaders are not expressing it, they're expressing the opposite.
Yeah, they are expressing the opposite. And the news is reporting just that. And they're not reporting in the mainstream news anyway, like what you just spoke of about how there are less wars, how compassion is rising, how we are more connected than we are not. It's just they keep doubling down on those old stories because it gets us to tune in. Um, Do you see that those news sources, the way they are now, crumbling with this new spiritual awakening that we're having?
Anything that is not based upon truth will
Mm-hmm.
crumble. Anything
Mm.
that is not based upon truth and compassion, anything that is not based on concern and unity and what we call peace, that is
Mm-hmm.
going to fade and fall away. Because
Mm.
that consciousness that is rising on your planet will in fact shift it, and it will shift it in a huge way. What you're not
Mm.
seeing is that huge shift just yet, but it is coming.
Oh, that's good to know. That is because, like we said, you said in the beginning, we are very overly stressed and we are exhausted. And, that living on that energy all the time is toxic to our system. And I want to talk about what we can do, but I just looked at the time. So, Kronos, if you wouldn't mind, let's take our break here and then we can talk more about that when we come back. Stay tuned, everybody, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives. Welcome back, and if you're just joining me, I am speaking to Gregory Possman, who is live channeling the Sirian leader Kronos, and we're talking about what's going on right now on the Earth, on our planet. And I was asking about what steps can we take to help accelerate the consciousness, the growing consciousness of the planet? Like individually, what can those of us who want to raise the vibration of the planet, what can we do to help the others along, so to speak?
The first part of the answer that we will give you is very difficult for you to accept. And the answer to that is really nothing out of the ordinary. In other words, when you look back at history on your planet, there are certain entities, individuals who have been recorded as having done very, very powerful, almost superhuman deeds. And those are the ones who get recognition. Now, go to the opposite of that. Go to those who are extremely loving, very compassionate. There's probably somebody in your neighborhood, in your family, probably somebody where you work who stands out as a person who is incredibly compassionate, very loving, very open, and very understanding. That is the energy that is going to change everything. But of course, you are taught the opposite. You are taught that you must be infinitely successful. You must be famous. You must be well known. You must be extremely taking risks, things of that nature. That's not true. So the answer to your first question is to be who you are. Yes, of course, you are going to take risks in your life. Yes, of course, you are going to do things that frighten you. There is a learning in all of that. But the truth of the matter is, you were born with all of the gifts and the energy that you need to change this planet. And the way you begin is by, of course, changing your own belief system and thereby changing your world. As you change your world, you change the kind of energy in the bubble around you, if you want to describe it that way, and that is a good description. So in the energy field around you, which the other spiritual masters have called the morphic field, you call it the auric field, in the energy field around you that extends out far beyond this galaxy into many galaxies. And that's very difficult for you to accept and understand. But it's true. Your energy moves out far beyond what you believe at the moment. And as a matter of fact, that is how you change everything. You allow that love, you allow that compassion, you allow that understanding. And right now, the messenger through whom we speak is going through major lessons of forgiveness, all about forgiveness. And so, as you become a part of the higher intelligence, forgiveness, empathy, the ability to understand others and what they are going through, all of those aspects are what change the vibrational frequency around you. And when you change the frequency around you, change the frequency of the planet. Now you imagine more and more and more people going through that process, and they become very powerful catalysts for change. So you want to know what to do. We are telling you what to be. And in terms of telling you what to be, you do not have to be anything different than what you are now. Of course, courage is important. Courage to take a stand for what you believe in. Courage to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. That's a part of it. But it's a part that comes with that faith that we spoke of earlier. And you will be accused, no doubt, of being wrong. You will be accused of being a fool, etc., etc. But that is exactly what is going to make a huge difference. That is what is going to change everything.
Now, from your perspective and the Sirian perspective view of the future of evolution, what do you perceive of the evolution of our human technology, like in areas of energy and communication and health? Are we on a beneficial path from your perspective?
Yes, you are making progress. You're afraid of that progress, but you're making it. And the truth of the matter is, it has much more positive to offer than it has negative. The aspect of technology can be applied in positive or negative forms. As long as it is applied in positive forms, then of course it is going to reap incredible benefits. The moment it is used for destruction, for control, or any other aspect like that, where one is overpowering another, then of course it is going to become a problem or a challenge or an issue. A quick example. A long time ago, our race realized exactly how to deal with threats to our own secure nature, our safety, if you will. And those particular outcomes have nothing to do with destruction. They have to do with simply informing those threats that there is no point in pursuing them, because it is not a matter of overpowering us. It is a matter of joining with us in a kind of mutually symbiotic relationship. In other words, we have much to offer, and we are happy to offer it. Because when we offer it to others, we are in fact assisting ourselves. And there is no difference between any other being out there and us. And so, when your awareness rises to that level, and it will, then it becomes a matter of assisting everyone around you, because it assists you at the same time. And that is a part of that awareness that we spoke of a few moments ago. Those of you who understand that and apply it in your daily life are standing up for the truth. Anyone who objects to that and believes that their way is more powerful or more important than some other way, they are the ones that are going to fall, so to speak. They will not experience success. It may appear that way initially, but in the end, when all is said and done, that is not going to be success. That is going to be a kind of weakness. And that weakness, of course, is the reason for invoking the fear that we spoke of earlier.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because there seems to be a small group of very powerful oligarchs and people of politicians and heads of countries, and that appear to have all the power and want more power, right? And for the end means I can't even imagine, but how does it get, like, when is that going to start crumbling? Because it seems like the ones that want all the power are taking and taking and taking more and more and more and more, and a lot of us are not seeing a light at the end of this tunnel, so to speak. So we would like to see their power start to crumble.
And that power crumbles when you believe and begin to realize that the power is within you. Creator is within you. And that is the most powerful power there is. And that is the power of compassion, and that is the power of love. One of the most interesting examples of that is from your Bible. And we say your Bible, it's not your Bible. But when you look at Daniel in the lion's den, so to speak, when these animals, who are very hungry, refuse to eat Daniel, that is because Daniel is emitting an incredible amount of energy around him, which is a kind of force field that doesn't allow them to touch him.
I see.
You have that same capacity. You have that ability. It's called love. And when that love begins to flow, everything around you shifts.
Mm.
So, in terms of you, we are speaking
Mm-hmm.
of you, Melissa,
Mm-hmm.
putting these messages out into the universe in the manner
Mm-hmm.
that you are doing.
Yes.
You are creating this incredible power around you. Now, those in power, so to speak, may want to affect that. They may want to stop that,
Mm-hmm.
but they will not be able to, because that power is unstoppable. It can't be stopped. And we're going to share with you something that probably will seem rather strange. We have in our society, our species, if you will, ancestors, wise ones. Some call them the shining ones. There are many different names for them. They literally guide us, and they are available to us all the time. You have the same. You have such ancestors. You have such powerful masters who are available to guide you. And when you listen to them, and they are speaking to you from the inside, not necessarily the outside, though there may be signs and signals that you see in the external that do come directly from them. When they are guiding you and you are listening to your intuition, you will always know what the appropriate thing to do.
Mm.
You will doubt it. You will probably doubt it. But the truth of the matter is, it is telling you the truth. And those who want all the power, so to speak, they are not listening to that guidance. They are not listening to that wisdom.
Is there, so this will be a two-parter. So I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that if each one of us in our own individual lives realize that we hold all the power and come from that space, then we are going to be, by just feeling that and doing that, we are going to be shifting the vibration. But so then that's that. I totally understand that. And that makes 100% sense to me. So the ones that are the power grabbers, let's say, are and they're vibrating from a different place and a different perspective. Is it lower energies that are influencing them? Like people say that there's darkness around them, or they have dark energies attached to them. Is that true?
From our perspective and our vision point, they are low frequency beings. And their purpose is to show that low frequency to everyone, so that those of a higher frequency can establish the faith we talked about in the beginning of our conversation. So in other words, yes, they can overpower others, and they can cause all kinds of controversy, and they can create all kinds of contradictions and conflict, and they will. However, that will be temporary. That cannot last, because it is not based on truth. Not long ago, the man Ashid was looking at rabbits. Rabbits do not fight amongst themselves. Rabbits coexist in a very peaceful manner. And so, you look at those species on your planet, deer are the same way. They do not fight amongst themselves. There can be short little conflicts, but they don't last very long, and they don't create death. They don't create destruction. They're merely a show of power, so to speak, and they don't last very long, if they last at all. So it is to understand that when you look at those teachers on your planet who coexist in a peaceful manner, like trees, for instance, Yes, of course, they are competing for resources in a way, light particularly. But the truth of the matter is they coexist peacefully. Everything throughout the entire cosmos will coexist peacefully once this process takes place. And of course, your mind wants to know when. When is it going to take place?
That's exactly what my mind was saying. When?
Absolutely. Of course it is. So you want to see the outer evidence of it.
Yes,
But
I
that
do.
is not the answer. That is not the key. The key
Okay.
is how quickly can I become aware of my own God, Goddess presence? How quickly can I find that self-love within me? How quickly can I create that security and that peace around me? And I must constantly remind my mind that that is the reality. That is the truth. It is not the other, because the other is fear. This comes from that aspect of love, absolute love.
Yeah.
There is no threat out there. Of course, it appears that way.
Yes.
But once that layer of love begins to emit itself from within you, the threat, the fear, is not founded in anything. It is artificial, it is unreal. That is a difficult understanding to come to, especially for a species such as the human race that lives in such a dense reality.
Yes.
You have another
And
question you want to ask?
Yes, I do, because I understand the perspective intellectually. But there are certain people who are, and children, who are starving and living in war-torn places and are going through so much pain and trauma and suffering. And I'm wondering how to understand that from a perspective of that love is what's real and fear is false evidence appearing real. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes, you are asking why such calamities, tragedies, and catastrophes occur on your planet.
Yeah.
And the reason that they occur is because they're part of the lesson that those individuals need to learn. They did not have to be born in those places, and they did not have to be born to those conditions. But in truth, they did, because the lessons that they are learning there are the lessons that they programmed for themselves. There are a great number in your population who disbelieve that. In other words, they see them as victims. We do not see them as victims. We see them as those who are undertaking some of the most challenging and difficult lessons possible. However, in the end, it is highly likely that if they accept those lessons and if they learn from them, it is very, very likely that they will, of course, they will actually evolve in the fastest possible way. And that is a key. Now, you as human beings have emotion, and the apathy or empathy, it's not apathy, but the empathy that you can have for them means that you can send them love and you can send them concern. You can actually pray for them if that is what you want to do, however you choose to do it. But the truth of the matter is your concern and your love for their circumstances will make a difference, a large difference. So you see on your planet people, individuals who are attempting to help them in whatever manner they wish, be it financial, emotional, whatever it might be, physical perhaps. And when that assistance is offered, as long as it can be delivered effectively, it makes a huge difference in their experience. And those who offer it learn as well.
Yeah. So from I'm understanding is that the people that are born in certain places and having these experiences made the choice to come here and have certain experiences for their own soul's growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah, I think
cannot
a
be
lot of
any other
people
way.
have a lot of people have a hard time thinking, why would you ever, because we're thinking from our human brain, why would anybody ever sign up for something like that?
It is difficult to understand. There is no question about it. But it's not difficult to feel compassion for those who have made that choice. The
Yes.
difficulty is not taking responsibility for their choice. You didn't make that choice. They made that choice. That doesn't make it right or wrong. It doesn't make it any easier to understand. It is just the truth. It is the way it is. Doesn't mean you can't
Yes.
help them. Of course you can. You can teach them how to move beyond their circumstances, if that is your choice. You must choose it first. To teach is a very noble, very, very powerful process. And it also teaches you. When you are teaching others, you are learning. You are
Yes.
learning about that compassion. You are learning about that love. You are learning about taking action, so to speak.
Do you have any experiences like that on your planet?
No,
No. Is
we do
Earth
not.
is Earth the most dense planet of all the planets in all the solar systems?
From our perspective, absolutely. Yes, it is the most
Hmm.
dense.
So we have some great lessons and
However,
some
also
to learn.
remember that in order to come here, you must have been a master. So even though it doesn't appear that way, you are all masters on this planet, learning from one another. So you are
Wow.
learning and you are teaching. Even those who are under the circumstances you described, they are teaching and they are learning from one another.
Wow. Well, that's definitely a different way to look at it, that we are all masters. Well, is
Of
there
course.
one last message you want to leave for us about humanity that would be
Love each other.
beneficial? Love each
If
other.
you had to have a one-line message from us, it would be, first of all, love each other. And second of all, love yourself. Love is absolutely the most powerful force on your planet, or any other for that matter. So yes, it would be to love each other, love others, and love self.
And you have that on your planet, that love.
In spades, as you would say. We have
Wow.
much of it, tremendous amounts of it. We are connected. We are all part of the one. And so shall you be at some point in the future. Actually, you are now, but most of you don't realize it.
Right. Wow. That's very powerful. So real quick, just before we wrap up, do you have any information what 3-eye Atlas is that's coming close to Earth?
We believe that it is a physical anomaly, so to speak, and we believe that it will have nothing but positive repercussions for your planet. That is all we are at liberty to say at the moment.
Okay, that has been confirmed by what I've heard from other people say. Well,
And more
Kronos,
will be revealed.
good. Well, you have no idea how much I appreciate you being here with me today and talking with me and helping enlighten us. So I want to thank you so much. Thank you.
It is a great honor, and you are more than welcome. In helping you, we are helping us, because we are one and the same.
Thank you.
So be it. I'm back.
You're back. Well, as always, that was a very enlightening conversation.
Good.
I love it. I just love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Gregory, tell people again how they can join the webinar and the date and how they can, if they want to join it.
Well, the website is gregorypossman.com, and it's just my name. And they can go to the website and they can look under events or products, either one, and that's where the webinar is. It's 3 hours. It'll be on November 15th. That's a Saturday.
Okay.
And it's New York time, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. So it's 3 hours, and we take a number of breaks in between the different entities that come through.
Wow.
And,
Sounds
yeah.
great. Sounds great. Well, thank you, Gregory, as always. I love having you on. It's just such a pleasure. And next time we'll see each other face to face. All right, All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.